so excited.
It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
12:03 on an Oilers game day as they get the Minnesota Wild tonight. It's Two Guys and a Goalie, presented to you by GS Construction. Join the expanding team at GS Construction, where safety, teamwork, and continuous improvement have been at their core since 1974. Embrace a culture that values integrity, hard work, and community engagement, providing a supportive and innovative work environment. You can go to gsconstruction.ca/company/careers, or just go to gsconstruction.ca. Scroll on down right there at the bottom of the website. You see ready to get to work. They will hire you. You will work your way up the company, and you will eventually one day become president at GS Construction. It's Nielson, Cass, and Gager with you today. Gager, I like your toque. What's that say on there? Hockey. What is this? Tell me about this toque.
This is my childhood friend, Rob. It's his hockey company out on Vancouver Island. So he trains. Let's say
Hockey Evo or
Hockey Evolution.
Evo?
Hockey
Evolution.
Nice. So it's yeah. He trains the Tyson Barrie and the Ben brothers for a time there. So all those guys on the island. He said he was. I remember the one time. I think I said it on the show. He was running those guys through the paces, and he found himself watching too much instead of kind of showing them what he wanted them to do, because of the skill level was just not what he was normally used to. And he said that especially with Barrie. Like, obviously you get him in a situation where there's, he can by himself, puck skills, skating skills, said it was unbelievable. So, yeah, shout out to my boy Rob.
I love Duck Dad over on the Nasty Chat. If you're watching on YouTube today, hammer the thumbs up for us. We'll get you ready for the Oilers and the Minnesota Wild. A few other stories around the National Hockey League that we'll definitely get to as well. Duck Dad says, does Tammy know that Dusty is doing 2 hours on EST today? She does. That was so Cass, I don't know if you've been brought in the loop on this, but my plan was to be back this morning, and I was just gonna skip over my final 2 doses of my meds. And then Tammy did the math on like when I got the prescription, and was like, wait a second, it's only been 8 days. And she's like, you have more to do, don't you? I was like, yes, I do. She goes, well, you're not taking that. And I get up and go to work. So basically she's not allowing me back into the office until Monday, which, to be honest with you, is probably for the better. But I didn't want to miss an entire month, but I'm going to be out of the office for a month, which is bloody ridiculous. But sometimes wives know best, Cass. That's just what you have to realize.
Sometimes.
All the time.
All the time, most of the time. I mean, we're not allowed to not have that be the case, right? Right?
Yeah,
Isn't
I think so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, not surprised. Tammy's laying the law down, as she should.
Anyway, working from home today. All right, let's get to. I see Reed Wilkins over in the Nasty Chat saying, guys, Kapanen with Skinner and Nuge. No Hyman, no Arvidsson. We'll get to the Oilers as we work our way through this thing. I did want a couple other things. The hit last night, heard round the league. White Cloud's hit, devastating blow on Matty Nyes. Gager, do you think they called it correctly? I know Leafs fans were losing their mind. That's why I decided not to have an opinion on it on Twitter. I'll certainly discuss on the show here. But what did you think of the hit last night?
I thought it was kind of the initial point of contact was kind of the head. Kind of lifted up too. I thought it was definitely a penalty. Just going on what Reeves did before. It was inconsistent with, and I think that's what we've gathered with a lot of these things. The fact that it went to the offices and they discussed it. I thought it was a penalty. At least 2 minutes. Jeez.
I mean, in today's game, 2 minutes for hitting hard. I could see that. The one view down low. I don't know, man. I don't know what else White Cloud's supposed to do there. And I don't think his feet came off the ice until he made contact, and then he sort of gets bumped up, right? Like he wasn't flying into him. It was like he went into him, his arm was tucked. He hit him from about here up to about here. I get it. But I don't know. Cass, what do you think? Where do you come out on this one?
Clean hit. Totally clean hit.
I don't know what else you're supposed to do there.
I don't know what else you're supposed to do. A guy has his head down. You keep your elbow tucked in. You don't leave the ice while you're making contact. Your principal point is not straight the head. It's kind of up the middle of his body. Like, what else are you supposed to do? What else are you supposed to do in that? A guy, like, for a legal check, you left yourself open for that. So I don't have an issue. Keeps his elbow tucked the whole time, pops up after contact was made. I thought it was a clean hit. Well timed. I actually will, pretend to throw that exact same type of hit, playing shinny sometimes. Just fly by a guy and go boom,
and just go right by him.
Yeah, go right by him. Let him know that you could have absolutely blown him up. But that's again, if it's a penalty, it is a penalty for hitting too hard, which is stupid because that's not the rule. So I thought it was a clean hit. Reeves hit completely different. That's a straight headshot, where the head is the principal point. That was not the case here. He didn't jump. Elbow was tucked. You had a player that just didn't have his head up. Wasn't paying attention. He got popped. No suspension.
Matt at the Garrison says, guys, I think he left his feet, though, as per Dirty Bruce. I didn't have a chance to listen to Bruce this morning. I was sleeping. I did get some texts after because he was, I guess, had some issues connected him. I get a text. I wake up from Bruce Boudreau. I was like, sorry, Bruce, man. I was off today. I'm not too sure what ended up happening. But if you watch when he actually hits him, his right skate is blowing snow. So that can't possibly be in the air. And his left skate is still on the ice. And then, as you're going to collide, Matty Nye's momentum is going to push White Cloud up and back. So I don't think he left his feet to hit him. I think he left the ice after the collision. So I don't know, man. I think they got it right. I know it might be a hot take. Cass, you're with me on this one. I don't know. I think they got it right. I mean, it would be viewed differently if that was Connor McDavid here in Edmonton. Everybody would be breaking it down by every single second. But I don't know. I didn't have a problem with the way they handled that one last night. So sorry, Gager. I guess we disagree, but
no,
I mean, they got right.
Yeah, it's just like when you hit a guy in the head with your elbow.
But his elbow was kind of his chest, right? Like it was like if anything got him on the head, it was here. I get there was head contact, but who was it? Somebody I saw tweeted out the rule on, not all hits to the head are a penalty.
It's just the way things are done now, right? Like I don't think it was a malicious hit, right? But the fact that Nyes runs into him face first, this is what I say. I think it's a penalty because that's the rule now. But years ago, this isn't a penalty. That's just a great hit.
Yeah.
If he really wanted, like if that was Darian Hatcher, Nyes would be out till next Christmas, right? Because that would be full forearm shiver to the chin. Would have
hit through him right to the chin, yeah.
So, I mean, you make a good point, Dusty, when you say what was White Cloud supposed to do in that situation. He probably couldn't have done it any better.
Yeah, exactly, right? I think he hit him as clean as he could.
But
it was completely clean, guys. That's
But Cass, I'm not saying it's clean. Like I like the hit, but just the rules now is because his head was down, which I don't like. I think, I'm old school where if a guy's stickling with his head down, it's and you go to hit him, obviously you don't want to, it shouldn't be malicious, but when you're tucked in, like your chicken wing is all nice and tucked like a good Christmas turkey, it's fine. But there's a little bit of an extension, but I think that's a natural thing. But it's a penalty. In today's game, that's a penalty, unfortunately.
No, not a chance. Not a chance, even in today's game, because it's, there is a responsibility to protect yourself as a player, right? You have that responsibility. Now, the principal point of contact, so the point of impact was not the head and purely the head.
The chest, right there.
In the chest. And his head's a part of that. And it's like, so the head contact in a lot of ways was unavoidable. and he didn't go out of his way to hit the head. It was a clean hit. It was a not interference. It was within the timing. He didn't leave his feet. Everything about that hit was clean. That is not, according to the rule book, that is not a penalty. Now, headshot, if if the head's what's hit first, then it's a penalty. But right now, it's not. I don't see how it is. And it would be tough to swallow if it's a McDavid or a Draisaitl that happens to. But you have to say the same thing. Like, if the head is not the principal point of contact, it's a clean hit. It's a clean hit and a fair hit. And I thought White Cloud did exceptionally well in keeping everything tucked in, not just running him through, like, right through his forehead. It was a good hit, guys. I have zero issue with it. And, for as much as we rip on the league with suspensions, and we do, and I think rightfully so we do, they've got the Ryan Reeves suspension. I thought they got right. I was anticipating 3. I was like, it should be 5. They'll probably give him 3. They stuck with 5. Right decision. This one, not suspending, I think also right decision. So, hey, they got a couple right, which is good. Maybe they've turned a corner, guys. Maybe they've turned a corner.
Might be the case. 780-218-9999. 780-218-9999 is where you can get in. It's Two Guys A Goalie, Nielson, Cass, and Gager with you this morning. I guess lunch hour now. I know Cass was a little bit low. I think I texted her and I told him to bump you up a bit, Cass. So hopefully hopefully be a little bit better there. Gager, what do you think of the Bruins?
Bumping it up on my
yeah, that sounds good too. That sounds a little bit better. Yeah, no, that sounds a little bit better. Gager, what do you think of the Bruins blowing out Montgomery while they're in a playoff spot when he had a pretty good record over his tenure there?
My sources tell me that Montgomery was at a diner and threw salt over his shoulder to avoid bad luck and try to win, and hit Seabass in the back. And
makes sense.
That was it. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. I don't know, Dusty. I mean, I think it's. I don't understand the willingness to pull the trigger so quick with one of the most successful coaches over the past few seasons, right? His record, his winning percentage. I think it's a little bit premature. There could have been other things that added to that. Maybe it was maybe Cam Neely was talking to the players in that dressing room, and maybe they just didn't seem like on the same page. You can always tell. Like, Montgomery is usually pretty calm. There's a little fire there at times, but obviously the amount of losses that were piling up, and just a game under 500, it's just not the situation that the Bruins thought they would be in. But you show me a coach that gets fired, and I'll show you a goalie that's not playing up to his capabilities. Yep. And usually those two things coincide with one another. And unfortunately, they couldn't just go to Allmark at this point, and they had to stick with Swayman because Swayman's a shadow of what he had been doing previously.
Cass, what do you think about last year's Jack Adams Award winner being fired early into the season?
Nuts, isn't it? It's pretty nuts. Like, I'm surprised. I'm surprised. Like, because you're not playing as well as you'd like, but yeah, like, are you last place in the league here? I mean, I don't know, guys. It seems premature for guys.
It feels like there's more going on there, right? Like,
and there might be, and that's the part we don't know, right? Like, if there's some conflict behind the scenes, there's stuff maybe we don't know, but it just feels like it's early for the Boston Bruins.
But you know what, guys? Like, so when was the firing of Woodcroft? Was it around this time last year?
Woodcroft was fired early November, I thought, wasn't it? Like, early
they were like dead last in the league.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? They were dead last. The Bruins were in a playoff spot when they fired this guy. By the way, he won the Adams in 23. Tocchet won it last year.
But what I don't understand is, like, so now it's like he wasn't on anyone's bingo card to get fired, I don't think. First of all, I was looking more possibly at Marty St. Louis as the prime candidate to be fired first. Usually this is kind of a domino effect. We'll see it's maybe in Detroit. I think they're playing a little bit better now, but usually you see a few more coaches fired around this American Thanksgiving kind of area, especially with the teams that maybe aren't in the position where they thought they were going to be just at the start of the season by this time of the year.
Cass, at what point, I mean, if the Bruins do have problems, and I'm not necessarily sure they do just yet. I mean, early in the season still, smallish sample size. But Don Sweeney's been the GM, I think, since like 2015. It's 2024. I mean, at some point, I think you probably have to look above the coach. Do you not?
Well, roster decisions, right? Goaltending decisions. That's not the coach. I mean, they make the day-to-day decisions on that stuff, but overall, that's your GM. But I mean, again, even with that, Dusty, it's like this has been one of the best teams in the NHL. You know, they're not that far removed from a season where they were like the best ever in terms of regular season record. So again, it just feels so premature to me that you're like, you know, now maybe you're just trying to go for shock value, and you're like, okay, we got to shock these guys, but I don't know. I'm just like, well, you expect them every single year for the rest of eternity to be at the top here? Like, you know, and again, it's not the same situation as Edmonton, because Edmonton was like last place in the league or second last in the league, and Boston's not there. Yeah, they haven't been as good as they'd like, but they're not at that point. So it just feels too early for me, guys, unless there's something else going on behind the scenes that we can't see.
All right. If you have any thoughts on that, you can text us 780-218-9999. That'll get you into the inbox. The troll texting us says, guys, Bruins overachieved the last couple of years, so this is just a regression to the mean. And this one is this is a good one too. It says, even Joel Embiid thinks Dusty's load management is getting out of hand. And yeah, I would, man, I miss texts like that. That's a steady diet of texts to the morning show for sure. You can hit us up over in the nasty chat. Hammer the thumbs up for us watching over there. The Edmonton Oilers will play the Minnesota Wild tonight after a road trip out east, coming back here, getting a really good Minnesota Wild team. And Cass, I have to say, Kaprizov, I mean, he's putting together a Hart Trophy worthy campaign right now. He's been outstanding.
Finally.
How high was he on our rankings? I'd have to go back and look.
Low for both of you guys. I am in shock that those words came out of your mouth. Because I mentioned this like 3 weeks ago about how good he was playing, and then he was my early Hart Trophy candidate, and you guys were like, well,
it could have been 3 weeks ago because I've been gone for a month. So I must have, maybe it was somebody else. Maybe it was somebody else.
Maybe it was a month ago. However long ago it was, you guys are just like, you know, Kaprizov, Minnesota lover because you're part of the organization. You just love Minnesota.
You are a homer.
You're a huge Minnesota homer. I was like, no, guys, like he's legitimately having an unreal campaign with not a ton of support in terms of star players around him. And they're just finding ways to get it done. They're, you know, gone is the Minnesota Wild of years past where they don't have that offensive punch. I mean, Kaprizov is a real deal with that, and he's fun to watch. One of the more fun players in the league, I think, in terms of just his ability to create in the offensive zone. And he does it both off the rush as well as, you know, spinning off the players down low. Like, he's slippery. He's a slippery player. And they're backed by a defensive group that's just solid. That is a solid group. So, yeah, I mean, hey, listen, this Minnesota team's a good team, you know, and against a banged up Edmonton, you're going to, particularly on the defensive side of the puck, it's going to be a challenge to contain Kaprizov. It's going to be a huge challenge for that group.
We will get to our expectations for this game tonight in a second. But Gage, you look at Minnesota right now, Kaprizov's got 33 points in 18 games. He's plus 17. He's playing over 22 minutes a night. Matt Boldy's got 19 points. Great player in his own right, but 14 fewer points than Kaprizov. Then Marco Rossi's got 15 points. Zuccarello's got 14. Middleton and Faber, two of their defensemen, have 10 points. I mean, Kaprizov is doing everything for this team right now. It's fun to watch. Like, I'm really looking forward to seeing him tonight against, you know, McDavid and Draisaitl.
And first in goals against at 2.3. So they're not allowing a lot. And
yeah,
what's amazing is Kaprizov is leading in all really the top offensive categories, like goals, assists, points, plus minus, like throughout his whole team. Yeah, Cass, I've liked him, but I think Zuccarello's out, though. I think he's injured right now. But
I'll double check on that right now.
And what I'm interested to see tonight is when I look at the Wild's lineup, because there's rumor like he's playing with Eriksson Ek, right, and Boldy,
yeah.
That's a heavy line. I'm wondering if they, just with the success of the Podkolzin line, I won't say McDavid line. I wonder if they go power on power against that line. I think it would be a very interesting matchup to see that and see who wins overall. Because looking at it, that's the line that you're going to need to shut down. What's the best way to shut it down? Is just not let them have the puck at all.
Cash, would you put power on power tonight? I mean, what other Oilers line
are we answering that from the perspective of? Are we answering it from the perspective of Edmonton or Minnesota?
From Edmonton. From Edmonton, they'll have last change. Do you throw?
You got to go power on power.
Okay, yeah.
If you're Edmonton,
who else are you going to play against a Kaprizov?
Who else are you going to play against them?
Nobody.
No, you don't. You don't have the depth with too many guys out. You don't have it. So you got to go power on power. If I'm Minnesota, I'm trying to get away from that as much as possible. Like let those guys eat up that third line. If you can get them out there and get that mismatch, you're laughing. If you're the Minnesota Wild.
So do you split up Connor and Leon just in case you're trying to get?
Oh, they're together. Match? They're together.
That's tonight, what I'm saying. If they're not, right? So what do you do if they're? You're thinking like partway through the game or like between morning skate and now that you've split them? If Minnesota's like strategy is to try to get away from the power, right, and they don't want to do that matchup, does Knobloch split up Connor and Leon? And that way, if they are looking for that third line matchup, your Kaprizov isn't going to even come close to his amount of time on ice that he's usually hitting. Of course, he will, or is this just a case where just let them play?
I'd say they probably let him run.
Yeah,
probably just let him go head to head tonight. Here's what they were. Well, so Minnesota. At least according to Daily Faceoff, Eriksson Ek with Kaprizov and Boldy, Marco Rossi centers Ryan Hartman and Marcus Johansson, Freddie Gaudreau with Yakov Trenin and Marcus Foligno, and then Jakub Lako with Devon Shore and Marat Hushnutnanov. Good luck with that one. Jacob Middleton, Faber, Brodeen, Spurgeon, Declan Chisholm, and Zach Bogosian. And then the Edmonton Oilers, and we'll talk about these injuries. They're banged up. Arvidsson is out. They're not expecting him to play on Saturday. Zach Hyman, I believe I saw Tommy or Reed say that he's going to be out 4 to 7 days. Darnell Nurse skated today, but he's not going to play tonight. So the Edmonton Oilers, as of the skate this morning, are running McDavid, Draisaitl, and Podkolzin. Nuge between Kasperi Kapanen, so the new guy gets a shot immediately in the top six with Hyman out. Jeff Skinner on the other side there, and then Adam Henrique between Connor Brown and Matthias Janmark. Derek Ryan between Corey Perry and Drake Caggiula, Ekholm, Bouchard, Kulak, Stetcher, Dermott, and Ty Emberson. Cass, let's start with that top line. Podkolzin, couple assists last game. He's got no goals, 5 assists, 20 games, still riding shotgun there with McDavid and Draisaitl. Is that because of what he brings to the line, or is that because they don't want to play anybody else there right now?
Well, who else are you going to fit there right now? Probably primary number one. Number two, he has done, and some of his teammates have talked about it, he has done some good things away from the puck. Like he's pretty good positionally, does force some turnovers. We've seen that. He's good on the forecheck. He can play some, a little bit of a physical game at times. And so when you're looking at that, you're kind of going, okay, here's a guy that maybe can fit here or fits a little bit here. And then we're not going to deplete another line because it's like, who else are you going to play there? You move Ryan Nugent-Hopkins away. All of a sudden your second line is toast.
It's done. You got a waiver claim with Skinner. Like, come on.
Like you're done. And so it's really, it's like, well, who else? There's nobody else at this point with the injuries that they have that makes sense to fit in there. So you're not going to see, the Podkolzin line move around right now. It's his line as of right now. And guys, he's got to be the driver, doesn't he?
Gage, I do like how Cass described it in that he fits a little bit in there and you're not depleting any other lines. And that might be the most accurate way to actually describe that.
Yeah. What gives me a little bit of pause is the second line with the Nuge back at center. I know he scored last game, so maybe that gives him a little bit of a jump, but he's been MIA so far this season, I think. Maybe he gets a little bit of a bump by, centering his own line. By all accounts, Kapanen hasn't lost any of his speed. hopefully they can. I mean, if they can find something with Skinner, that's a pretty decent second line to come back at with Hyman out. I mean, Hyman coming out really throws a monkey wrench into the whole lineup. But you know what? Even looking at this, it's still a team that I think can manufacture wins. Like, this is a team that's crawling and scratching like that Toronto Maple Leafs team that we saw last night, right? Like, this is still a team that should be able to win some games and string a few together. But I just I wonder what Ryan Nugent-Hopkins that we're going to see tonight, because he's going to have to raise the level of his play and be a little bit more consistent, or just generating some more offense than what we've seen so far from him.
Cass, what do you expect from that line? Because I'll just be honest, I don't expect anything from Nuge Skinner. It's like, I'm not, if they can just be even tonight, mission accomplished. I'm not expecting any offensive push from those guys.
I think it's okay to expect a little bit of that, though.
Well, you should, but I don't.
You should. You don't. Yeah, that's because you're a cynic, and I feel like you're still just a negative Nancy coming off of being sick for so long. You're like, everything is bad.
Like, outside of McDavid and Draisaitl, the forward group has sucked balls all season. I'm sorry. They're a two-man team up front. They are. Like, it's just the truth.
Not disagreeing with you right now, because that's it shouldn't be the case, but that has kind of been the case, or it has currently been the case. Is currently, whatever. Yeah, I mean,
guys, do you know?
I don't want to be a cynic like you. Like, I want to see them produce some offense, and I would have some expectations. You know, veteran guys that should be top 6 guys, and Hopkins and Skinner, and it's like, you should be able to produce at a decent level. Who knows if they will? But I think it's fair to say that, you know, you don't want to just say like, oh, just as long as they're even. It's like, well, no, I want to see them even or better. Like, I do want to see them better than that tonight. I want to see them put a point up on the board. Like, they should be a group that can do that on a almost night by night basis.
Guys, like you said, Dusty, the forward group has been completely offensively anemic.
They're inept at their job offensively.
The top 7 scorers on the Edmonton Oilers, okay, and that's including Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. There's only one other forward in that list of top.
Is it Matthias Janmark?
No, it's actually the Nuge, but it's okay. It's Draisaitl, then McDavid, then Bouchard, then Ekholm, then Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, then Nurse, then Kulak. That is not acceptable after 20 games. Like, no, someone has to get going.
Like, I had on my list here today. How come nobody's talking about Adam Henrique having 2 goals and 2 assists in 20 games? Like, this was a veteran guy that they sacrificed younger guys who were more productive. They let them go and kept him. And what has he done this year? Their penalty kill is starting to get better, but it's still garbage, or it has overall in the season. It's been better for a week and a half. And I mean, it does nothing offensively. Makes over $3 million. Like, I mean, these guys all need to get better. They all need to get going. It's ridiculous.
Crazy.
And you know, and if they do, maybe they're a good team again, right? Like, look where they are now. They're an okay to good team now, but maybe if these guys do get producing, maybe they are a very good team still. But you haven't seen that yet this year.
They would be a very good team, and they're going to need it, because there's going to be nights where you can't have Connor and Leon every night carrying you offensively. Like, they're gonna dry up at some point. You know, there's going to be games where they're not going to have 3 points each. But maybe if Podkolzin is carrying that line, maybe they are. I don't know.
Cass, what have you thought of Henrique so far this year?
He hasn't been very good.
Yeah, like,
he hasn't done anything. He's been utterly quiet and
kind of a non-factor, really. Like,
non-factor.
Yeah,
which is not what you needed him to be. And that's one, like, more than the Skinner one, where I'm like, you know, you look at trading like a McLeod, and I'm like, or retaining a Holloway. You don't bring in Henrique, you probably sign Holloway earlier, or you don't necessarily trade McLeod, right? Like, so
yeah,
that's the one more than Skinner, because Skinner, I think, with the goal scoring pedigree, you're more willing to take a little bit of a chance on. with that, but the McLeod or the Henrique, where it's like you need more from this guy. You really do. This is a guy that's an NHL veteran that was decent in the playoffs, pretty good in the playoffs.
He was good. He was really good.
He was good. Yeah, but he's been
yeah in the playoffs. Yeah, he had like
he was good.
Was it 7 points and
utter non-factor
around and yeah. Like he just hasn't been what they needed him to be. But none of those guys have. Which if they Gage, that's a great top 7 scorers this year. McDavid, Draisaitl, Nuge milking some power play points, and then 4 defensemen. Which is just, it's insane. Like, that's absolutely insane. Now, with that being said, even though the production hasn't necessarily been there, Cass, how much do you think they miss Hyman tonight?
Well, it's Podkolzin's line now, so they're not going to.
And Podkolzin's got to score a goal here at some point. Mm-hmm. Hey,
like you're going to miss him. He does a lot of things away from the puck well too. Like he's still a good player, still effective player. But as you said, he's been snake bed. And I think what's different to me about him not scoring the last couple of games versus at the start of the season. Start of the season is like he just couldn't score. He had so many chances. They were all over the place. He just couldn't put the puck in. And it kind of feels like that's dried up a little bit, where there hasn't been as many good looks recently, but they still will miss him. Listen, he's still a guy that can score, that plays well positionally, is generally engaged, and one of the few guys they have that plays around the net. So, are you going to miss him? Absolutely. But we won't when Podkolzin pops off for 4 goals tonight, maybe 5.
I said this yesterday on Hernan and my show. I wonder if I've been wondering what's been wrong with Zach Hyman all year. He just doesn't have that junkyard dog ferocity that we've seen in years past. And how many times throughout the year do you say, well, Zach Hyman worked hard, there was just his there was a level of his play that was so consistent. This year it seems, and the hit that he took, it didn't look that vicious or it wasn't anything major for him to miss to stay out for that whole third period. I'm wondering, guys, if there wasn't something prior that he's been kind of playing through, because let's face it, he's a shadow of his of Zach Hyman that we're used to seeing on a nightly basis. I think this could be maybe a longer period of time that he's out too, if he's been trying to nurse something and it's finally gotten to the point where
they're saying 4 to 7 days, but who knows? I mean, Arvidsson was day to day for how long now, right? We should probably expect Arvidsson to miss about 20 games because that's what he does all the time. So get it out of the way now, have him healthy down the stretch and in the playoffs, and probably be pretty happy with it. Let's get to a few comments.
This Oilers training staff is like a weatherman. Like there's a 30% chance he might be back. They're just throwing things out there. This is terrible.
780-218-9999. That'll get you into the inbox. We got EST afternoons coming up with Hernan and Gager at 1 o'clock today. We'll preview that show a little bit coming up. Library Pat is in and says, guys, nobody's talking about Henrique not scoring because there's so many others who should be scoring who aren't. Arvidsson, Skinner, Nuge, to name 3 after Hyman, at the expectations we have for him into that mix too. Library Pat. AB Poker Inc. says, a 100-point guy and former 30-goal scorer that can't produce? Come on, Dusty. Let's be more positive here. That would be the Nuge. That would be the Nuge comment there. This is an interesting one that came in from Kevin. He says, guys, I love how bitchy this stream is, considering the Oilers could be in first in the Pacific with a win tonight. They could have a share of first tonight with a victory, which I think says a little bit something about the Pacific and the top end of the Pacific so far. But like we said, we're just stating facts on the forwards. Outside of McDavid and Draisaitl, they've all been a disappointment this year. If those guys get going, the Oilers could be a really good team. I mean, because they're hanging in there without those guys doing anything right now. So you get those guys going, acquire a defenseman at some point, and I'm not going to say they'll be last year's team because I don't think they are, but they could be a good team. They could be a good team again. So we'll see how that sorts itself out. Something that came up today on Lock Shop was Four Nations face off or whatever it is coming up. They're going to announce the rosters December 4th. And in the off season, it was McDavid, Hyman, Bouchard, Skinner. And Huss asked me today, he's like, do you think any of them are on that team? outside of McDavid. And I was like, I don't know. Like, do you guys think Hyman or Bouchard or Skinner are named to Team Canada in 2 weeks with the way they've played so far this year?
I think Skinner still might be. I'm going to
think might be as like the third goalie or something.
Yeah, Chief Andy's about to lose it in the nasty chat. Zedmo too, if he's there. But I think Skinner might be. The Hyman, no, not off the season.
There are a lot of Canadian forwards having better seasons than Zach Hyman right now.
Yeah, Bouchard maybe. He's a big name.
But here's what I said about Bouchard is that Cale Makar can do all the positive things that you would want Bouchard to do on the power play. So then, I mean, we see Bouchard play in other areas, and I would think there's probably better defensemen to play that role as opposed to Bouchard being a third pairing guy for you. You know what I mean? Like, I just think Makar's better at what Bouchard does best. So why would you have him on the team?
Well, he's the best in the world.
Yeah.
Makar is the best in the world at that, at being offensive. Yeah.
Gage, what do you think?
If I were going to rank them, I would say the top of the list, it would be Skinner to make it. Second would be Bouchard, and then third would be Hyman, where I don't think Hyman makes it. It's very unlikely that Bouchard gets the call, I think, at this point. And Skinner, with his play, although he had an unreal game against the Sens. I thought he was fantastic.
He did play well. I don't think that was talked about. I thought he played really well.
He was really, really good. I think he fits into that third spot.
I just brought up, this was done a couple weeks ago, NHL.com, and I just look at Canada's goalies, Binnington, Samuel Montembeault, and Stuart Skinner. And what has happened to Canadian goaltending, boys? Like, that is, I mean, they are going to be at a significant disadvantage between the pipes compared to everybody else. And it's only a 4-team tournament, but whatever, still.
Hey, they only have to play good for, 2 weeks? And each one of those guys has shown that they have a high level of play that can be sustained over that time. We're not talking about an 82-game schedule here. If you look at the U.S. team, if they go 4 forwards and 2 goalies, they could. I mean, they're great. The stats of the American goalies are just ridiculous right now. But
we were joking today, like, does Hellebuck not have like a great grandparent that lived in Canada born in Canada for a bit or something? Like,
I was listening to that game, but I heard you talking to, I think it was you talking to Huss, Dusty, but one of the best chants, and I mean, I don't know, I got to look at the schedule, but if Edmonton plays Dallas anytime from now between that tournament start, they have to start the chant that they had in Winnipeg, where they were yelling at Ottinger, U.S. backup. And that was
Winnipeg chants, man. Like,
that was solid. That was the best. Like, saying their name, who cares? But U.S. backup. that was awesome. That reminded me of back in the day with Belfour and Waugh or Hasek when they would yell "Eddie's better" or something like that. But bravo to the Winnipeg folks for saying that, and I think it worked.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's funny.
It's a great chat. They do some great stuff in Winnipeg, up in the 300 level, where all that stuff comes from. It's great. James is asking a question on goaltending. So let's just, I would like your guys' thoughts on this. Guys, how much does cost affect goaltending development in Canada? Gage, do you think that's what it is? Or Cass, like, what do you, I've got 2 kids in minor hockey right now, and it's like, it's not easy finding goaltenders for U11 teams. It's just, there's not many of them out there. Cass, what do you think it is? Not cool to be a goalie?
Yeah, people want to score goals, high skill. That's what's coached. That's what's taught. That's what's pushed. We could talk about broader developmental planning as, on the side of Hockey Canada and organizations and some of the way that things have been handled that I think broadly affects it as well. Whether you're looking at prep programs and less from community teams, less total kids playing hockey, the expense of the position, goaltending in general. I think there's probably a variety of reasons. There's a variety of reasons, but you also have to look at it. It's just you're going to have ebbs and flows in that as well. Well, maybe. At the same time, you look at like Finland and Sweden sometimes, the way they pump out goalies, and you're like, well,
relatively consistent, right? Like
relatively consistent. So maybe we do ultimately have to take a deeper look at the programs that you're running to say that, hey, we need to get these things better for the goalies.
Well,
and for as much focus is put on saucing the puck at 3 years old and toe dragging at 2.5, maybe we have to work in some of this stuff for the goaltending too.
Gager, you're the goalie. What do you think?
There just hasn't been a one of the perennial Vezina Trophy winners of Canadian descent in the NHL, I don't think, since Carey Price.
Carey Price. So Carey Price was the last great Canadian.
He was the last great Canadian goaltender, and
I broke him.
And you scored twice on him because you ruined him.
Yeah,
it was the beginning of the end.
He and I think that's what happens, Dusty. Like when I name a famous goaltender, like who did you try to emulate? I know the answer.
Well, for me, growing up as Patrick Waugh.
Yeah,
I love Patrick
right?
Waugh. I became a goalie because of Patrick Waugh.
And so these guys were just great goaltenders.
He would always do this with his head. That's what I always did. Like I was just like, I wanted to be like Patrick Waugh.
Yeah,
that drove me nuts. I hated that's the reason. Like I couldn't stand Patrick Waugh. I grew afterwards to like truly appreciate how good he was. But at the time, Dusty, that head shake.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it.
Just drove me nuts.
Look
I just
at them
would get
all.
mad. Like I feel
Waugh.
rage inside.
You have Cujo, you have Brodeur, you have Felix Potvin. Like all these guys were just, and their equipment and things. And now
Potvin was cool. Like you wanted to be like Felix the Cat. Like
So now when you probably talk to little kids, it's McDavid, it's Matthews, it's McKinnon. Those are the flat. It's Bedard. All this flash and pizzazz. And if I can be completely honest, I think it's just so cookie cutter now with goaltenders. There's camps and their positioning is taught, but goalies have become more blockers than they have actual guys that make saves. And
can you get away from that now, Gager, or is that just?
I don't know. I think you can, but it has to be taught in a way as well. It's like I go and watch these little kids, and it's just get out there, butterfly, hope it hits you, and then once in a while you see guys actually making saves, and that's when I really think that Stuart Skinner's at his best is when he's actually. There's times to become a blocker. Obviously, the reaction time, where the puck comes from, you just don't have enough time to react. But when he's actually looking and making saves, he's not just going down into that that big blocking style and just getting in the way of it. When I see him throw out a leg, a quick kick save, or a good blocker save, I know he's really on it because he is incorporating that into his game along with a very strong foundational base of good positional play for a goaltender.
Yeah, it's interesting. Cass, how much of it is, do you think, just in general with the talent of players, scoring is up, and it just we view the game that way as opposed to like there might still be some great goalies out there, but these kids are all so damn good at scoring right now that they're flying under the radar a little bit, maybe.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. And as Mex Bezozu is in on the nasty chat and says maybe they're just tired of hearing their parents trying to run Skinner out of town every day.
I don't want to be a goalie. I want to be like Pud Colson and have 0 goals and play on the first line. Nobody says anything.
I don't know if it's a cost thing anymore, too. I mean, it
would be the same cost in other countries too. I would think to play goal, right? Like,
and it's just as expensive. Almost for a player too. Like it. I went in and looked at sticks the other day and almost puked. Like this is crazy.
Gage, do you think we should lock?
Do you need a new stick?
Well, I keep trying to get new ones, but whatever. It's Canadian Tire for me, Cass.
Big old wooden goalie stick.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like an out. I'm like, Gage, I have a few. Like, if you need another stick, I can give you one, but I don't have any goalie ones.
Gage, do you think? Now, I guess top end teams in U9 might lock in goalies, but do you think kids should start playing goalie full time before U11? Like Marshall just went through 2 years of U9. He played probably 5 or 6 times last year. Didn't mind it, didn't love it, but yeah, had fun with it. And then in the second half last year, we had one kid who was just like, I just want to be a goalie. Just let me play goal. And we're supposed to rotate. But we're like, you know what? We needed 2 goalies in U9 anyway. You're a goalie. Now we've got that kid again this year. He's the only goalie we have, so he's going to play a ton. He's a little guy, but he's extremely athletic and he's pretty damn good. But I just like, how much better would that kid be if he started being a goalie when he was like 7? Is that good or bad? Is that good or bad? Like,
I think at that age, I think I like the revolving door on it, because that's the way you find out who really wants to be a goaltender. You know, that's how it was when I was a kid. I hate seeing a young kid like 9 years old in full goalie equipment sitting on the bench. I know I just like one goalie per team and just play there's enough kids in hockey for teams. I'd like to just see one goalie play all the games and just be able to play his legs off throughout the entire season. I hate seeing guys that aren't able to play, because that's when you have the most fun, right? Is playing and hopefully winning games and making saves. But I don't know what the reason is, and I'm sure it just doesn't seem, because of what you hear at the junior level, that the next one is coming, right? Like major, junior, you look around, there isn't that guy that they're always talking about. There's good goalies, and of course we see them at around Christmas time at World Juniors, and usually, this is Devin Levi was a very interesting goalie to me. He was really good at the World Juniors, but he's still kind of scratching the surface of what type of goalie he's going to become at the NHL level. But yeah, I really think, Dusty, if a Canadian kid comes along and becomes that next Carey Price, Grant Fuhr, Joaquin Gage, I think you'll see a lot more young goalies start throwing the pads on.
I want to get to this. It's I don't know if I should say who it's. Anyway, I got a text that says, guys, please settle this. Oh, no, it says right here. Please settle this for the warehouse boys over at Pro-Am. So the text is from Jack. With the toque level on Gager right now, like of how high it is on your head, is Gager a hipster or a dad who's just mailing it in? You know, like where a dad's just like got the toque on, he doesn't even care. I was kind of that guy yesterday. I was outside for like 15 minutes. I realized my toque was up here, as my ears weren't even being covered. I was like, what am I doing? Cass, what would you say? Is Gager look like a hipster or a dad who's just like had a long day and he's just done with everything? He's mailing it in now.
No, Gager's too cool for that. He's way too cool for that. I mean, I don't know what the hipster thing. I mean, he's just cool.
It's Penner's Pancake says, mail it in, dad. I don't know, man. I think it's a nice toque. So I think that would lead me to say hipster, right? Like a hipster's not going to be wearing a garbage toque.
Yeah.
That's a nice toque.
I'll get my buddy to send a couple. They are so warm, guys. Like that's
key for a toque.
Yeah, because this is his ODR kind of toque, because there's some padding in it. Like it's very thick, and it's lined inside. It's my favorite too.
And Matt, are you not really sweating around the office? So has Matty turned the heat down? What's going on here?
I got the door open, so and it's just me in here, because Zach doesn't like to work with me. He just goes. He's actually out there playing chess. Young Bobby Fischer over here thinks he's gonna.
Oh, we're playing chess at the office now too.
We got chess. There's cribbage. Yeah. There's
we got to get back to work. What has happened in the last month?
We just had a big 2-on-2 full game of basketball, Dusty. Like you should have seen it. I was boxing out everything. It was unbelievable.
I gotta reel things back in on Monday. I gotta get this.
There's absolutely no work being done here.
What the hell is going on over there?
Yeah. I come out of my office now and I go, hey guys, keep it down. I'm trying to get some work done.
I'm trying to do a call here. This is unbelievable. Max is in and says, Gators, how do you do, fellow kids? Which is that Steve Buscemi bit.
That had me giggling. Right? Yeah. I was laughing. You guys were still talking. I was just giggling.
That's a funny one.
Great line.
All right, Oilers versus the Wild tonight. Obviously, the Oilers not at 100%. You know, they were so healthy last year. I think we forgot that teams miss players at some point in the regular season. Cass, what type of game? You're on pregame tonight. I think Tommy's going to be live from White. Hudson's on White for the game tonight. Cass, what do you think tonight? The Oilers coming back off this? Are you worried about the Eastern trip and coming home and playing a really good team?
I'm worried about their ability to contain Kaprizov, right? Like you have, well, really on the defensive side of it, right? Like, are Ekholm and Bouchard going to be up to the task? Because beyond that, I don't know if you have the guys. Like, do you trust the rest of your D pairings to be able to contain? And I don't know if you can right now. So it's going to be a huge challenge because more than any other team that they played on this road trip, it's like that power. I mean, you have a guy, as we said, in Kaprizov that's playing at a heart level right now. He is. Like, he's going to be, or is currently, if the vote was today, there's a good chance he wins it.
I think he would win
it. He probably wins it. And so it's like you're going to play a guy that's red hot, a team that's playing really well, plays pretty sound defensively from a structure standpoint. Like they got some depth there. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm a little nervous with a bunch of injuries coming into this one, guys. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't.
I put together a little parlay. You can find it over on Coolbet right now on the exclusives page. And I usually have Oilers money line on these things. I left it off today. I'm on a Draisaitl goal, McDavid over 1.5 points, Bouchard assist. I could see that happening, and they still lose this game. So I got a bad feeling about tonight. But Gager, what do you think?
I don't like it. Coming home off the road trip, for some reason, it seems like the home team is usually a little sluggish, and Joel Eriksson-Ek feasts on the Oilers usually. I would be surprised just with the way that the Oilers need to generate offense comes from two guys, and the fact that no one else has really contributed yet, I don't think tonight's game is going to go well for the Edmonton Oilers.
Chief Andy in the chat says, if Dusty misses another week, the boys will have a stripper pole installed at the office. Yeah, I gotta get back. So fingers crossed that it will be. Well, no, it's gonna be Monday. I mean, everything should be taken care of by Monday. So hopefully we'll get that taken care of. All right. So Cass will be back on the GCL Diesel pregame, postgame coverage tonight with Tom Gazzola. If you're looking to join Tommy tonight, he's going to be at Hudson's on White, which was where we had the after party for the Estes. And that place was absolutely rocking that night. So I'm sure it'll be a good crowd tonight. For those maybe before the game, you're heading over to the game, or if you're just going to find a place to watch the game tonight, you can do that at Hudson's on White. Two Guys and Goalies presented to you by GS Construction. They are hiring right now. Just go to their website, www.gsconstruction.ca. Slide on down, and you can't miss it. There's one link that says join our team. There's another one that says ready to get to work. So if you're thinking about changing careers or you want to start a new career that has a lot of growth, you can find that at gsconstruction.ca. EST Afternoons is coming up. Gager, what's the plan for you and Hernan today?
Oh, we'll probably go over this dissect this Wild game and what's going to go on. We have, I think it's Tony Gazzola on our show today. Talk all things of what he saw. Red Light District, you might want to tune into that, Dusty. There's some conspiracy theory stuff going on.
What time's that going on?
That's going to be at 1:40 today.
1:40, okay. Yeah, I will be listening on iHeart or TuneIn. So
Dylan Laux, the Wild reporter at the Hockey News, and then, of course, the Fly Away to LA and Tee Up Reed and Jay show.
Lots coming up, Cass. Have fun on pre and post tonight. That's going to do it for Two Guys and a Goalie, presented to you by the Sandman and his team over at GS Construction. For Gager, Cass, I am Dustin Nielson. And thank you very much for joining us. Stick around for EST Afternoons.